My voice mic, but my guitar mic, it has a low battery, and so it's dead.
Oh, I am getting it. I am getting it. Chris, too.
Oh my goodness, no way. That's
Getting it. Is it low battery now?
Do you have an extra battery?
I do.
So I'm gonna. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai dai dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai dai dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai dai dai. Rabbi Sissenwein, is it time for something new now? Does that feel good?
Perfect.
So friends, I want to bring you a new melody. And this melody is one that we're going to come back to after our Amidah, and it's one that may not be familiar because it's brand new, fresh off the presses, 2022, by Alana Arian, our dear friend, many of whose melodies you might know. Take a listen, and when you feel comfortable, jump right in. Look, then leap. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Different. Yai dai 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 dai. Kind of sings itself. Try that with me. We go up and down. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Fill the room. You sing beautifully. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 yai dai dai. Beautiful. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. We'll come back to that later.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is good to see everyone in the sanctuary. It's good to welcome people on Zoom. I just want to say it's good to be back. I'm still jet lagged a bit, but it's really it's good to be in your presence. 2 weeks ago, I was in Dubai at a little shul called the Jewish Center on the Palm. It's a little Orthodox synagogue on the Palm. So if you know Dubai, on the Palm means there are man-made islands in the shape of a palm tree. So they have made islands. This is a country that has a ski hill in a shopping mall. This is a country that has more money than they know what to do with. This is a country with the tallest building in the world. And this is a country that made peace with Israel and is amidst an incredible moment in time. So I'm looking forward to sharing next week. But I didn't do it this week because I am tired. So I'm looking forward to Shabbat. So let's do this. Let's introduce ourselves to the people around us, and then we're going to begin together. It's good to see everyone. Introductions, left, right. Even if you have to stand up, say hello, and then we'll begin together. And on Zoom, we ask for your patience.
It's just that one. I just needed to not do that one. Yai tai 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 tai. Yai tai 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 tai. Yai tai 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 tai. Yai tai 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 tai. Yai tai tai yai tai 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 yai tai tai tai. Yai tai 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 yai tai 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 tai. Yai tai 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 tai. Yai tai 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 tai. Yai tai 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 tai. Yai tai 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 tai. Yai tai 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 tai. Yai tai 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 tai. Yai tai tai tai, yai tai tai tai. Yai tai 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 tai. Yai tai tai tai, yai tai tai tai. Yai tai tai, yai tai 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 tai.
So, rabbis begin serving congregations on July 1st. It's kind of the standard fiscal year of synagogue life. So I am beginning my 24th year at Temple Beth Elohim. And I remember serving as an assistant prior in Newton for a much older senior rabbi. I remember when he was going to celebrate his 50th birthday, and I thought he was really old. So I have been here for a while now. But I mention this not because it's my 24th year, but I mention this because it's the first year at TBE for two new rabbis, Rabbi Ben Rosen and Jordy Coleman. Jordy led services 2 weeks ago while I was in Dubai, and Ben begins this evening. So we are absolutely thrilled you're with us, along with your families. And Tess, if you'll come forward, Tess Rosen, Ben's wife, to light candles for us. Page 1, are we using visual tefillah? I guess not in the summer. Guess what, everyone? There's something called a book. So let's use books. It's been a while. Page 121.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליקנה של שבת.
Get a big hug. Page 128.
Yai tai 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 tai. Yai tai 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 tai. Yai tai 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 tai. Yai tai tai tai. Yedid nefesh. Yedid nefesh. Avhar hachaman. משוך עבדך ארץ צאנך ירוץ עבדך כמו הים ישתחווה אל מול עטרך ישתחווה מנופת צוף וכל Tam ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la.
Continuing to welcome Shabbat's page 142, Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni, Barchuni leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zeirchem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Page 138, Beloved, come to meet the bride. Beloved, come to greet Shabbat.
And I'm joined here by an old friend. Pleasure to sing with you. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur
Keep and remember a single command.
Yishmi'anu el hamyuchad.
The only God caused us to hear.
Adonai
God is
echad
one.
u'shamo echad. L'shem u'tiferet le'ila le'adodi likrat kala Enei Shabbat nekavela lecha dodi likrat kala Enei Shabbat nekavela
Likrat Shabbat lehu v'lecha ki mekor ha'eracha merosh mikeden nisucha sof ma'aseh
במחשבה תחילה לך דודי לקראת קלה הנה שבת נקבלה. Verse 5 התעוררי התעוררי
Awake, awake.
Kiva ore, kumi ori, uri uri.
Awake and sing.
Shidaveri kavod Adonai, alayich nigla lecha dodi. לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. יללי,
last stanza. Enter in peace. Ateret bala, gam besimcha, enter in gladness, enter in joy.
Toch emuneh am segula.
We welcome Shabbat.
Boi chala, olech oti likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela, olech oti likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela, pnei Shabbat nekabela.
Having welcomed Shabbat, hopefully we're in a different place now spiritually, ready to welcome in the Ma'ariv service, page 146.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Respond together.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed.
Let's be seated once again, continuing on page 148, independently, loud enough to hear our voices, soft enough so as not to disturb our neighbor, reading in English or Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai
Or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or. Or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or. Baruch atah Adonai Amari v'aravi.
Page 150, a blessing for the gift of Torah, of meaning and purpose in our lives.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim אותנו לימדת. אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו קומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. Just the beautiful voices. אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. ואהבתך אל תסר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
And on the next page, ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. Adonai Elohechem, Emet. Page 158, Mi Chamocha, the Song of the Sea. And I just want to make mention that Martin Luther King often walked with Abraham Joshua Heschel, leading to that moment of redemption. And there's this famous quote that Heschel was praying with his feet in walking alongside of King during those many days. And Rabbi Kalman, you are going to lead services with me today, but you're leading services with your hands by sitting there with Matan. So stay there. But Rabbi Sapphire, who is not supposed to lead services with me tonight, will you come join me? Right, exactly. That's fine. It's nice to have a nice big team. And so let's read together on page 157, preparing ourselves for Mi Chamocha. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternal Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha edar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef ele. Mi chamocha, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef ele. Who is like you? Who is like you? Who is like you? Adonai. Who is like you? Who is like you? Who is like you? Adonai. Malchutecha ra'u banecha bokei hayam, livnei Moshe u'Miriam ze Elianu, anu ve'amiru. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Who is like you? Adonai. Who is like you? Who is like you? Who is like you? Adonai.
So let us turn now to page 161 for the prayer of Hashkivenu, as we ask God to shelter us in a sukkah of peace, a shelter of love and understanding. And as has become our TBE anthem, we have a few TBE youth to help us out this evening. Zach, I remember when you were about that size. So they aspire to your leadership. Let's join together.
Ready to go, team? Let there be love. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life. Let there be love, let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, Leshalom. Let there be love, let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
Yasher Koach, friends. Thank you. You turn to page 164, the center of our service when we express our gratitude and our praise. If you are joining us on Zoom, I invite you to rise in spirit. If you are with us in person and able to rise in body, please do so. The chat is open for your praises and your gratitude. Let us fill this space with praise as well.
Adonai, Sifatai Tifta, Ufiagi Tehilatecha, Adonai, Sifatai Tifta, Ufiagi Tehilatecha. Open up our lips that we may praise your name. Open up our hearts so we can feel our pain. Open up our souls, let our love make us whole, and we will pray, your name, Adonai, Sifatai Tifta. Ufiagi Tehilatecha, Adonai, Sifatai Tifta. Ufiagi Tehilatecha. Baruch Ata Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avoteinu ve'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Vekoneh HaKol, Vezocher Chastei Avot ve'imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'nehem, Lemahan Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen. Baruch Ata Adonai, Magen Abraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Ata Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol ata Rav lehoshia, Morid hatar. Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofech olim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar. Micha mocha ba'gevurot, Umito melech, Melech memit umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata l'hachayot hakol. Baruch ata Adonai, mechaye hakol. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, Ukdoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch ata Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
We continue independently with our own private prayers and reflections. When you're finished, you may be seated.
On page 178, we're going to bring back that melody that we learned at the beginning. First, no words. Let's bring back the rising and the falling with your beautiful voices here in community. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 yai dai dai dai. Take a listen. We're going to add the words Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. You got it? Fake it till you make it. Let's fill this room together. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Make of us a house for all people, in hope for all people. Surround us in peace for all people, in wholeness and in love. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Make of us a house for all people. Gather us in hope for all people. Surround us in peace for all people, in wholeness and in love. One more time. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam.
We pray for peace, for healing, for wholeness, those who are in need of healing, whether it be of body, of spirit, or of mind. If you are thinking of someone, we invite you to rise to share their name aloud with us in prayer. If you are on Zoom, to place their name in our chat as our clergy make our way around the room. Craig Weiner may be with us on Zoom this Shabbat. We mentioned his name. I want to mention my mom, Marilyn Crossley, as well. Let's turn to page 371.
Mi shebeira avotenu mekol habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Shebeira imotenu mekol habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Each week we also celebrate our God-given smachot, joyous occasions, blessings, miracles that occurred for us this week. We celebrate our birthdays and anniversaries. Let's start with those. Anyone have any to share this week? Helene? It's your birthday this week. Mazel tov. Happy birthday. Yes. It's Mary's birthday this week? And your son's as
Happy
well.
birthday.
Happy birthday. Any others? Yes, Eric. 18,
Whoa,
your
chai.
high anniversary. Happy high anniversary. Wonderful. Any other moments to share this week? We welcome our new rabbis, of course. Many firsts to celebrate this whole year together. So let us join together in words of Shehachianu. We celebrate life and love and many firsts.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. Let's say a hearty amen together.
If you were going to introduce him. I don't know if you need an introduction
He
anymore.
needs no introduction, but I guess I will say, Ben started on July 5th, and here on July 7th I said, teach a little Torah, and introduce yourself to us most importantly. And this is a loving community ready to embrace a new rabbi, and so we're glad to learn from you this evening.
Speaking of Shechianu moments, Shabbat Shalom, TBE. Shabbat Shalom. I am honored to be asked by Joel, by Rabbi Sissenwein, to share some of my Torah, and frankly, as many of you can imagine, I'm just a little bit nervous. This is my first Friday service that I've participated in since ordination back in May, and I stand before you ready to share my very first drash as a Rav B'Yisrael, as a rabbi. This is the Shabbat I've been waiting for. I've been looking forward to it for over 6 years, and I could not be more excited to share it with you all. We're not called the people of the book for nothing. Week after week, we engage in the words of our Torah, a chain of tradition that spans centuries. We read the ancient words, we question their meaning, and yes, we wrestle with their relevance. And when Shabbat is over, and we put aside the previous week's portion, we're often left with a sense of shalom, wholeness, peace. From Parashat Mishpatim, we read words that ring loudly to this day. You shall not wrong a stranger or oppress them, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. From Vayera, we draw our dedication to hospitality as Abraham welcomed 3 strangers in from the desert heat. But what happens when we come across a portion such as this, that we really, really struggle to reconcile? No matter how fiercely we wrestle with the text, at the end of the week, we may find ourselves wondering, what value was there in studying that parsha, in studying that portion? Such is the story told to us in this week's parsha, Parshat Pinchas. Now, at the tail end of last week's portion, we read of a horrible plague that God had set upon the Israelites as punishment for consorting with foreign women and sacrificing to foreign gods. Tens of thousands of Israelites have already perished, and no end was in sight. Moses called the leaders of the tribes together in front of the tent of meeting and tasked them with executing the ringleaders of these indiscretions, hoping that this would somehow calm God's wrath and end the plague before it was too late. As the tribal leaders gathered, Pinchas, the grandson of Aaron the high priest, saw an Israelite man enter into a nearby tent accompanied by a Midianite woman. Incensed by this flagrant disregard of God's will, Pinchas followed the 2 lovers into the tent and impaled them both on his spear. Immediately, as if magic, the plague was lifted, and the remaining Israelites were spared further punishment. This week's portion begins with the end of the Pinchas narrative. We read in this week's parsha that the Eternal One spoke to Moses, saying, Pinchas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron the priest, has turned back my wrath. Therefore I grant him briti shalom, my covenant, my pact of peace, because he took impassioned action for his God. We have a word for someone like that, someone who acts in such a way. We call that person a zealot. And sadly, we're all too well acquainted with zealots in our day and age. People who murder in the names of their gods and ideals. People who are so filled with hatred and self-righteousness that they believe that they reside outside of the laws of both government and human decency. Knowing what we know now, how can we look at this brit shalom, this covenant of peace, of friendship, and look at these words of adulation that God heaps upon Pinchas and feel like there's wisdom to gain? What happens when our Torah repulses rather than compels? Well, we do what Jews have been doing for centuries. We reimagine, we reinterpret. Like our ancestor Jacob, Yisrael, we are Yisrael, the people Israel, a people who wrestle with the divine. So with that in mind, I propose an alternative reading of this Pinchas story, one in which Pinchas is not a zealot, but rather a person who has to make an impossible decision. If you've read Torah, then you know that it's a fairly bare-bones document. The scaffold of the story is presented to us, sure, but often the smaller details, like what a character is feeling or thinking at any given moment, those are often left to our imagination. A famous midrash teaches that Torah was actually written with words of black fire upon a surface of white fire. And from this we learn that the white spaces between the black letters contain great wisdom, just waiting to be uncovered. What goes unsaid is just as important as what is written in the scroll itself. So we understand what happened. Pinchas saw the two engaging in forbidden behavior, and he acted. Now, what we don't get from the text is Pinchas's internal monologue. Based on this, we have a couple avenues to explore. The first and most straightforward, and the ones that the rabbis tend to lean towards, is that Pinchas is thinking to himself, these people are violating God's commandments, and they must die for it. These are the thoughts of a zealot, a person so filled with passion that they barely think before handing down their own version of divine judgment. Let's go back. Go back for a moment right before Pinchas took action. All we're given in the text is that the Midianite woman and the Israelite man, enter into a tent. But let's really place ourselves there in that moment. The people were in a state of crisis. And who knows how God would react should further transgression occur. Pinchas had a decision to make, and he had to make it in a split second. Does he stand by, let the two lovers carry on, possibly provoking God to kill even more Israelites than had already been taken by the deadly plague? Or does he take matters into his own hands? Should Pinchas stand idly by, or should he take 2 lives to spare thousands? In Pinchas's eyes, the ends justified the means, and his decision, as we see in the text, was wholeheartedly endorsed by God via this Brit Shalom, this pact of friendship and peace. Does this make the story of Pinchas more palatable for our modern sensibilities? Perhaps. And yet, this cannot be the primary goal of Torah study, to dilute the biblical narratives until we can stomach them. If this were the case, we'd be left with precious little to read when we gather on Shabbat. Rather, we're called to be the children of Israel. We're called to wrestle with these biblical narratives, to ask difficult questions that more often than not receive uncomfortable responses. This alternative reading of the story presents Pinchas not as a zealot, but as a rational thinker who felt compelled to act in order to preserve life. Could it be that Pinchas was in the right? That when faced with 2 impossible decisions, he chose the one that favored the lives of the many over the lives of the few? The story of Pinchas calls us to wonder, is there something or someone in our lives for which we would commit violence? Is there a time when an act of violence can also be righteous? Our sages say yes, but I really struggle with that. And I have a feeling that many of us in this room do as well. But that struggle is not only necessary, but actually invigorating, because it reveals the true extent of our power as readers and interpreters of our holy text. The Torah presents itself as a framework for understanding. Our ancestors knew this, and that's why there exists a wealth of commentary which seeks to understand the motivations and intentions behind the actions of these biblical characters. That being said, our rabbis and sages do not hold a monopoly on interpretation. As the next link in the chain of Jewish tradition, it's upon all of us to reimagine, to reinterpret, to ask ourselves the difficult questions rather than to outright dismiss. And in doing so, we take ownership of the text, and we learn something about ourselves along the way. For thousands of years, the Jewish people have engaged in earnest with the text of this portion. As the current custodians of a wealth of Jewish texts and traditions, it's upon us to continue to engage, to struggle, to wrestle with Torah for the sake of all Jewish communities, past, present, and future. My hope is that we will wrestle side by side through many of these complex texts and the ethical quandaries that they pose. Stories that may not have an immediate, obvious theme or modern connection, but are core to our Jewish identities nonetheless. Not only do I look forward to joining you together to navigate challenging texts like this week's Torah portion, but I also look forward to working together to navigate similarly challenging life events as one of your newest rabbis. I feel incredibly blessed to have been offered the opportunity to serve alongside such an amazing clergy team, such an amazing professional staff, and to be joining such an incredible congregation. It's really a dream come true, and that's not hyperbole. It's a dream come true for myself, for my wife Tess, and I'm sure for my parents who are no doubt watching. Hi. I can't tell you, and I've probably expressed this to everyone that I've come across so far, but I can't tell you how many times over the past 6 months I've said to someone, I think I've won the rabbinic lottery. Seriously. Again, not hyperbole. So as we share our first of many Shabbats together, I'd like to extend to you all my own Brit Shalom, my pact of friendship. The door of my office will always be open to you and to your loved ones for counsel, for study, and for all that Jewish life brings to our community. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. So you heard there at the end, open. And not only has Rabbi Rosen said that he is open, his door is open, his heart is open, but so too has Rabbi Kalman, so too has our whole clergy team said we are open to this community. And also we, as a community, are open to new friends and new teachers. So bringing a melody that may be familiar to TBE, that was new to me when I got here. Ever open. Let's open our hearts for everyone here. Open to the fear, open to the loneliness, open to the dark, the unknown, open to the strength, open to the holiness, open to the light of coming home. We will be ever open, ever open. Ever open, our hearts will always be ever open, ever open, ever open. Open to the hope, even when it's slow to move, even when it seems a change won't come. We will face the day, we will hold each other close, we will sing a song where there is none. We will be ever open, ever open, ever open. Our hearts will always be ever open, ever open. Ever open, our hearts, join us now, always be ever open, ever open, ever open, our doors will always be ever open, ever open, ever open, our hearts will always be.
Page 586, Aleinu. Let's all rise to table.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
Page 598, Mourner's Kaddish. And as we do each week, we invite the mourners in our midst to rise first and recite the names of those individuals they're remembering. And so if you have lost a parent during the past 11 months, an immediate family member during the past 30 days, or are here to observe Yahrzeit, we ask you to please rise at this time. And even if there are many members of a family, the ritual, I think, is in expressing the name as part of one's mourning. So don't worry if there are 6 people reciting the same name. It's not to inform us. It's actually the ritual itself of acknowledging the person you're remembering. So please feel free to repeat it. Did we miss anyone? If not, then did we reach you? Good. Let's all rise in support of the mourners in our midst. I've been asked to recite the name of Joshua Greenberg, the father of Jim Greenberg, Goldie Clott Kay, the mother of Barbara Marks, Edith Shamroth, the mother of Carolyn Kroll, and Noah Weinstock, the brother of Peter Weinstock. Also, those relatives of members and members of our community who have passed during the past 30 days, Brett Cohen, Miles Fetterman, Charlotte Michelson Frank, Howard Goldstein, Barbara Lazar, who is the wife of Rabbi Jeff Lazar, who will be interred this coming Sunday, Harriet Charno Robbins, Gerald Shapiro, Linda Weigensberg, Dr. Jonathan Wise, and Bob Zalash. Let us now recite Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash merabah.
Amen.
V'yamad yivra yiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh. B'chayachon v'yechon b'chayet Yisrael. B'gala v'zman.
Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mifarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitzhadar, v'yitzaleh, v'yitzhalal, shemed, b'rusha b'richu. Leila minko berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata. Ta'amiran b'yama v'imru, amen. Yehesh Rabba min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Zeh shalom b'mrama, v'yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael.
Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
As of July 1st, I am thrilled to say that Rabbi Harper is now leading all of our adult engagement including our Summer Institutes. So lots going on here.
There is, and I just want to call your attention to an opportunity to get to know both of our new rabbis a little bit better, an opportunity to get to know Rabbi Kalman on Tuesday, July 18th at 7 p.m., and Rabbi Rosen on August 1st, I believe, at 7 p.m. So do look forward to those opportunities. We also have our Contemporary Jewish Thought Summer Book Club going on Thursday afternoons at 1 o'clock. And you can jump in halfway through. We're halfway, but it's okay, and it's awesome. So feel free to join on Zoom. So looking forward to seeing you in the near future. Let's close up.
Awesome. Thank you. Page 123, Kiddush. Rabbi Rosen, will you lead us? You don't have to lead us. This is a literate
All we need is a
congregation. You
big
have
bow
to just
of-
get us started. Here we go. And then you get the sip.
You
It's
got it. Go for
juice.
it.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'vratzon hilchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim kivanu facharta ve'otanu kitashta mikol hamim v'shapat kodshecha ve'ahava u'vratzon yinchatanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashem. Amen. L'chaim.
L'chaim.
Juice.
Rabbi Kalman, will you lead us in Motzi, and then we'll go out into the atrium and greet one another.
I'm going to need you to hold
Right?
this.
Yeah.
Let's uncover that challah. There we go. Here we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avo. Rabbi Kalman, you get to take the piece of challah.
And a big thank you to Zach Gondelman, who joined us musically this week. Thank you, old friend.
Happy summer, everyone. Let's say Shabbat Shalom.
Ya lai 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 ya 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 lai lai ya lai lai ya lai 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 ya lai 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat